Tonight, when you go to bed, you probably expect something simple. You lie down. You fall asleep. And then you wake up 8 hours later. One long, uninterrupted block of rest. That feels normal. Natural. Universal. But what if I told you that for most of human history, this was not how people slept at all? What if waking up at midnight was not a sleep disorder, but a way of life? Not rare, not strange, but completely ordinary. There was a time when humans did not sleep once in the night. They slept twice. And in between those two sleeps, they woke up. Every night. For thousands of years. This is the forgotten story of segmented sleep. And the strange silence of midnight waking. Before electricity, night was not like today. There were no streetlights. No screens glowing in the dark. No late-night conversations through devices. When the sun went down, the world truly slowed down. And then it stopped. People went to bed early, sometimes just a few hours after sunset, because there was simply nothing else to do. No reading under bright lamps. No entertainment on demand. No reason to stay awake. But here is where it gets interesting. They did not stay asleep all night. At least, not in the way we do today. Historical evidence suggests that people would enter what was called the first sleep. This was the deepest sleep of the night. It began soon after sunset and lasted for a few hours. But then something unusual happened. Around midnight, people would wake up. Not suddenly, not in panic, but naturally, as if their bodies had finished one chapter of rest, and were simply pausing before the next. They called this time the watch or quiet wakefulness. And what they did during this time might surprise you. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, and not reaching for your phone. Because there is no phone. No electricity. No distraction. Just darkness and silence. So what did people do? They stayed awake. And lived in that space. Some people prayed. Some reflected on dreams they had just experienced. Some wrote letters. Some talked quietly with family members lying beside them. Others simply thought. Deeply. Slowly. Without pressure. In many households, this was considered the most peaceful part of the night. A time suspended between two sleeps. A kind of natural pause in life itself. After 1 or 2 hours, something else happened. Without effort. Without alarms. People would drift back to sleep. This was the second sleep. And it lasted until morning. When they woke up again, the night was fully over. This pattern, first sleep, waking, second sleep, was so common that it appears in diaries, medical texts, court records, and literature across Europe. It was not a theory. It was everyday life. For a long time, modern historians assumed this was just poetic writing. Until a historian named Roger Ekirch studied hundreds of historical documents. What he found changed everything. He discovered repeated references to first sleep and second sleep across centuries. People weren't describing insomnia. They were describing a normal pattern of human rest. A forgotten structure of the night. And suddenly, a mystery appeared. If this was normal for so long, why did it disappear? In the 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Ware conducted an unusual experiment. He placed participants in a controlled environment with no artificial light. No phones. No screens. No modern stimulation. Just natural darkness for 14 hours a night. At first, nothing seemed unusual. But after a few weeks, something strange happened. The participants began to sleep in 2 phases. First sleep. Then a period of waking. Then second sleep. Exactly like historical records described. This suggested something powerful. Maybe segmented sleep is not outdated. Maybe it is our original biological rhythm. Everything began to change with industrial society. Factories demanded schedules. Clocks became strict rulers of time. And then came electricity. Suddenly, night was no longer dark. It became usable. Extendable. Controllable. People started staying awake later and later. Sleep was compressed into one continuous block. First sleep and second sleep disappeared. Not because they were unnatural, but because life no longer allowed them. And with that change, something unexpected appeared. People began waking up at night and worrying about it. They checked the clock. They felt anxious. They thought something was wrong. But in earlier centuries, this moment was normal. There was no fear attached to it. Only silence and acceptance. What we now call insomnia may partly be a misunderstanding of our own history. So what did this midnight wakefulness actually feel like? It was not stressful. It was not chaotic. It was calm. People sometimes described it as the most thoughtful time of the day. Writers used it for inspiration. Farmers used it for quiet reflection. Families used it for intimate conversation. Even dreams were discussed during this time. It was a space where the mind was half awake, but not fully engaged with the world. A natural psychological pause. But darkness has always had another side. In a world without explanation for sleep paralysis, hallucinations, or half-dream states, midnight waking sometimes felt strange. People reported shadows, voices, presences in the room. What we now understand as sleep transitions or REM states was once interpreted as something supernatural. The night was not just quiet. It was mysterious. And sometimes, frightening. Today, we live in a world that never fully sleeps. Lights stay on. Screens stay bright. Minds stay active. We have gained productivity. We have gained entertainment. We have gained control over time. But we may have lost something else. A natural pause in the night. A moment of stillness between two sleeps. A time when the mind was allowed to drift without purpose. Ending a question left in the dark. Slow fading ambience, quiet night sounds. So the next time you wake up at 2 or 3 a.m., don't panic. Don't rush to check your phone. Don't assume something is wrong. Because thousands of years ago, that moment was not an error. It was part of being human. A second sleep waiting to begin. And maybe, your body still remembers it, even if the modern world has forgotten.